try to do these tours on a regular basis as part of the SME's program, and hopefully we enlighten people to what the companies are, what things are available within the region. We have a fantastic diversity in manufacturing here in the greater Spokane Coeur d'Alene corridor, and we have excellent opportunities to solve all sorts of problems here in our own backyard. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our host and let her run the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to LA Aluminum. It's great to see young people and people that are interested in this, and I really appreciate your time. LA Aluminum obviously started in California, in Los Angeles, in 1947. We're celebrating our 65th anniversary this year. We moved up to this location in '72, primarily because property was a lot less expensive in Idaho, even back then, than it is in California. The company is family owned. The two people that started in California, and what I love, it's like Bob's mom was pouring the aluminum while Dad was doing the sales. I love that. So she ran the shop, basically. And their son still owns it. Bob got the company when he was 26 years old, which I just think is amazing that he had that maturity to run a business like this. He's really passionate about our customers and our employees. We've been having a great deal of growth. And I will talk about tanks. They're the fuel tanks. They're not like the tanks that you drive in that blow stuff up. And so we make the fittings on almost every tank, fuel tank and water tank, that went over to Iraq and Afghanistan. We're a single source manufacturer, so we make our own molds. We pour the aluminum, typically at about 1400 degrees. We have our huge heat treat baskets, you'll see. And then we have a full CNC machine shop. And a year ago, we built another 10,000 square feet for inventory, but also we put in a custom powder coating line. So this is our tool shop where we make the molds that we're gonna pour. We actually use SolidWorks, so my tool maker will take the model, put the draft on the outside, make it so that it's a good casting, put gates and risers on it, and then he'll program that, send it out to one of our CNCs, and they'll cut the tool iron. We primarily use iron Durabar. Typically our walls need 2 to 3 degrees of draft so that they'll come out of the tool. We make every piece that goes into every tool. And you guys probably know, we can model all of that and make sure that it doesn't get stuck or caught on some of the mechanical areas. This is the nut ring that I talked about, and the key is we cast the aluminum around these. We make them of every shape, size, and color practically. And as I said, they go on every airplane and helicopter flying. So this is just like our keynote product. So tool shop. The next department is our core shop. These are actually dental assistant arms. You will see the part at the very end. This is a highly complex product line. We make these parts for the biggest dental equipment manufacturer in the United States. So this creates the internal space where the water lines and all the electrical lines run through. We'll go over to our cold storage. We are a permanent mold aluminum casting company. We don't do sand castings. We do machine some stock, but we'd rather have, a part that we make the tooling for, pour the aluminum, machine it, and powder coat it to provide the entire supply chain for our customers. A couple of other things, we actually have brought a lot more work back than I lost to China, but I think I've brought back at least 15 parts from China. And people are now saying that we are less expensive than China. Idaho's a really low-cost area of doing business. We pour only prime ingot. Bob's dad said, if it's good enough for my aerospace companies, it's good enough for all of my customers. One of the great stories, there's a customer over in Oregon, and he actually built the first over-the-road berry picking machine. Latau Harvester came to us, I think within the first 2 years of manufacturing. They had a big part that was 17 different weldments put together, and in the field it was breaking down. Berry harvest doesn't last very long. Having a breakdown is not good. And so they came to us to get a solution for that problem. We made one casting out of 17 different weldments, and they've never had a failure. So it's fun to be able to solve those problems, and I know that's what a lot of you do on a daily basis. A couple years ago, we also got into a different type of casting for us. It's called reverse tilt. The difference is you can see a lot of these open like this. They're just a regular sandwich. This one opens like this. But how we design the gate and the riser, so this comes down and then the aluminum's poured in slowly. This process was developed for wheel makers because anything with a heavy center and thin walls, this helps it push that aluminum out through those thin walls. And there's a specific part for the tanks that we actually designed, and that's one of the reasons we bought this product. But it was funny, by the time we got the first one, I had it filled, and so we immediately bought a second one. So I also went up a couple years ago and talked to Oshkosh. They're the ones making all the MRAPs and the really cool vehicles that the military is now using. And they use the explosion-proof tanks that one of our customers made. And they also are going to start using the axle housing, because that was the issue when these guys are racing out in the desert at 130 degrees. The axle housings were exploding, race over. And so the part that we're now making solves that. So cool. Now we'll go into the foundry. So we're doing permanent mold. We have 2 induction furnaces that we have full all the time. The temperature's up on the wall. Right now it's 133 degrees. You can go up and look, don't touch.
It has a maintainable melting capacity of about 400 pounds per hour and still maintains a constant temperature, so we never have to worry about massive fluctuations.
And you can see everything we do is hand ladled. We don't have automatic pouring. Gravity is what does the trick. Permanent mold castings are the strongest casting you can buy. They'll have the less porosity internally. A die casting or a sand casting is going to look somewhat like Swiss cheese internally. Our molds, when you cut them in half, there is not a hole anywhere, and very few inclusions or garbage, because we do pour such clean aluminum, prime aluminum.
Well, you notice I'm wearing the Kevlar sleeves. I'm not wearing full garb right now because I ain't going to be pouring, but we wear
apron,
spats, an aluminized apron, face shield, eyeglasses. I'm wearing my leather gloves because I was working over there a little bit ago, but we have Kevlar gloves and hot gloves also. First rule you learn in here is you do not ever touch anything, whether you're wearing gloves or not. You don't touch nothing with your hands. Everybody's always carrying a pair of pliers or 2 pairs of pliers. If you pick something up, it doesn't matter if it's sitting over there, sitting over here, or anywhere. You don't touch nothing with your hands. Parts come out of these molds are ranging anywhere between 850 and 975 degrees. They'll melt your fingers right through your glove.
That's how we heat up the molds to get them ready to pour. Typically at LA Aluminum, most of our tools, we're going to pour in from the top, and then we're going to have it go slowly into the casting and sit at the bottom, and we want it to fill up from the top. So these are your gating and how we get into the part, and then the riser is the bad stuff we cut off the top, where the 7% shrink ends up shrinking as it's cooling. That's why I have branding of fire on everything I do.
Those 2 particular molds, it'll take the better part of about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes because there's a solid steel core in the center that's about 18 inches tall. But the thing about it is that I can't just heat up the mold halves and the core. I have to heat the entire base of that up to an operable temperature of 750 degrees. What you see here, this is my playground right here, the mold press area. The blasting booth, the ice blaster that she was telling you about, our blasting medium is actually CO2, dry ice. That's a finished prep job right there. To keep the molds up, I do basically the same thing. I have my torches sitting here. Basically, we use 4 different coatings. You can see 3 of them here. That is the basic function of any and all paints that we put on the tool. Protection against the iron.
Mold coating is so critical to the process. That's going to determine the surface finish. And I don't know if you got a chance to see the comparators I have in there, but LA Aluminum makes really pretty parts. We usually range in the 220 to maybe 300 micron surface finish. And a lot of that's because our guys are great at painting the mold, and still it will come out of the tool.
This is what we use for our blasting medium. It's literally press form, dry ice that looks like little tiny rice.
The process is often used to take rust off of car parts. The automobile finishing field uses dry ice blasting.
Just to forewarn everybody, what she said about this machine being loud, I'd suggest you cover your ears because it does have a decibel level above a jet airplane taking off. That's the end result. Wow. And the white that you see on there is, like I said, it's the paint dust.
Obviously a vertical mill with a built-in fourth axis. It's got an eye that it'll set its own tooling. And instead of 1 part per hour, we now make 6 parts per hour. So this tool, the ROI was about 6 months. And it's kind of unique. Machining casting is different than machining stock. Stock never varies. Every casting is going to be different every time. So the setup and how Bob machines is pretty unique. So this machine takes this ugly old casting and makes it look pretty. Those are more of our dental products. You will see those in every dental office. So, as I said, we built this so we could do powder coating. We also built it so I could have inventory. And then this is the part that we make, nobody else in the world makes. This used to be either a 4-inch or a 6-inch cam lock part, bolted or welded to a 6061 plate. And we were looking to reduce weight, make it cheaper, lighter. And I said, well, why can't we make it one piece? He's like, oh my gosh, if you could do that, that would be amazing. But lots of people have tried and failed. We made it happen. And the reverse tilt is perfect for this product. A very heavy center that we want aluminum to go around the corner and spread out to a fairly thin area. And, you know, we put the bolts on it. There's a suction stub right here that goes underneath so that if the tank is empty, the material doesn't get pulled out. That 6061 plate alone, last time I priced it was like 98 bucks. I sell the entire thing with the suction stub on it for 60. So the military got 100% better part. This is the biggest hole on the tanks. This is where the guy goes in to clean the tanks or fix the tanks. And so the biggest hole was the biggest leak spot. We eliminated the leak spot. And I sell the whole thing for 60 bucks. It's half price. So I love doing that. If we can make we get a great deal. The military was so impressed. Within about 6 months, every tank manufacturer in the country called me and said the military wants to use this. So we are the only people in the world that have that, and it's our design, and we own it. First oven, we put outgassing primer on them. Then we cook them again. Then we sand them because we can see any holes, any issues, any surface problems once we've got the gray base coat on them. And then we top coat, a powder coat in white. Cute little perfect parts. These guys have a 0 quality defect. If there's one pinhole in that part, we're gonna have to heat treat the paint off and go through it again. These parts even impressed Boeing. It was fun that they're like, wow, those are some pretty parts. That completes our tour, and I'd be happy if you went. Dude, we love having y'all here.